Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome to the Joy Channel podcast. Welcome to a very special episode where I interview Courtney Stephenson, identity and manifestation coach. Now, this is from the Feel Good Now event back in October, but Courtney and I discussed making it a whole separate episode, a whole separate video, because it's so good and rich and juicy. I wanted to make sure everyone sees it. So here we are. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing the show. For info on one-on-ones with me and with Courtney, you can look at that info below. Also, check out the Done For You courses both of us have. Enjoy the app. Everyone, welcome to the stage, Courtney Stephenson, manifestation and identity coach, who is very well known on TikTok, and she's got a beautiful YouTube and Instagram as well. Her purpose on this planet, or rather her chosen work, is to remind you of your power as a creator, to help women remember their power to change their reality, change their self-concept, and manifest lives that they love. So everyone, welcome to the stage, Courtney.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to be here.
I'm so honored to have you. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh my goodness, thank you. So I want to say I love you. I love your content, and I love that you named this Feel Good Now because that is like such the vibe that you embody. Like you just have this beautiful, like childlike joy, a presence online, and I love it so much. So thank you for having me. I feel really excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so happy and excited to hear that that's the energy that you perceive of from me. That's wonderful. Oh my gosh. I love your content. That's why I love how you speak from truth and you speak from the I am, and you have that awareness of I'm the creator. I choose what I choose. And also I love your accent. You're from Savannah, and I love it's beautiful.
Thank you so much. It used to be a lot thicker than it is now, if you can imagine, which is really funny.
Amazing. So, Courtney, my first question is, what brought you to conscious manifestation?
Oh my goodness, how much time do you have? Um, the most succinct way that I could put that is it started from, and maybe this is something that a lot of people can also identify with, but it started from honestly the lowest point of my entire life. It started from rock bottom. My life had kind of gone up in flames, and it forced me to realize and remember who I actually am, was through a big season of contrast. Through a spiritual awakening, the first of many over the past few years, I found manifestation, and then it became this progression of an unfolding that I never could have made up on my own. So I know it was my higher self, obviously, part of me, but it came through um, difficult, uncomfortable seasons of my life and hitting rock bottom. And the only thing for me to do was to look at myself and to look back on my life and why I was repeating patterns, and to coming into the awareness that I am the one and only source. So through disempowerment, I actually found my power, which is, I feel like a common tale in this community, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's what put me on the path to conscious awareness, conscious manifestation, and what I do now. And getting to connect with and work with amazing people all over the world, and to speak with beautiful women like you and all of the women who are participating here. And so for me, it felt like this phoenix rising from the ashes type thing, and it came from that difficult season of life, but I'm so happy that it did because it woke me up.
I love that share. Thank you so much for doing that, for rising from the ashes. And my story, yes, the childlike joy that I have is because I was injured to the point where I couldn't lift my head off of a pillow. And so I had to find that joy within myself and shift to my body being healed. So that rock bottom of literally my life's choices and thoughts I was perpetuating left me unable to move. And then I had to move from within. So I love that your story is from that rock bottom. That's sometimes what it takes to wake us up to our power, is to remove all the illusions of power outside of us until all we have is to dive deeper within us. So I'm really,
Absolutely. It'll teach you to stop outsourcing your power, and it will allow you to wake up to who you truly are. And so I think all of those things are purposeful, and I don't mean to minimize or diminish anyone's experience. However, I feel like that is such a common thing that I've heard a lot of people in this space say, that their greatest power came from their most disempowered moments, because there was nothing left to do but to wake up and remember.
I love that. I love how it works that way. And it's funny too, because, you know, a decade ago, I didn't think I would have ever said, like, yeah, that car accident, that's what ended up waking me up. I was so frustrated from it, but it really became my greatest source of restoration because I realized, oh, I did that. I meditated and suddenly I saw how all the events had led up to it. So I'm wondering if you had an experience like that as well, where you saw all the dots connect and you realized that you were the one with the paintbrush.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, and thank you for sharing your experience too, because it's so moving, and it's such a testament to how all of this works. But for me, and through my experience, it was after postpartum. I have two daughters and had a really tough time with postpartum with my youngest. And I wasn't sleeping, and I started feeling almost delusional and crazy, not delusional in a good way. But I felt like I was losing my mind. I had anxiety and all of these symptoms. And my doctor at the time was taking more of a holistic approach instead of just throwing medicine at me. And so, because I was struggling so much at that time, um, she recommended meditation to me, and meditation absolutely changed my life. But that is what I attribute me getting still and quiet enough for the first time in my life. Because I had a pretty traumatic childhood, which I feel like, a lot of people can identify with that as well, because I see our generation and the generations right now as the cycle breakers, because we are actually waking up and becoming conscious enough to break all these generations of patterns, right, that have just been passed down. But for me, the meditation, through that really difficult time, opened my mind up enough for me to be able to grasp concepts that I wasn't able to hear before, because I wasn't sitting with myself. And so I couldn't see before that I was actually the common denominator. I couldn't see that everything was coming from the stories I was telling and the identity that I had been embodying. And so that in itself was an unfolding and kind of like a bridge to all of these other things, where I could learn about manifestation, but I was still repeating patterns. And so that took me on a rabbit hole of, wait a minute, I am the source here. I am the common denominator. And this is why I'm continuing to go from relationship to relationship, and they're all turning out the exact same way. And so it's not them, it's actually me, right? And so it's my conditioning, it's my programming. And so for me, it was this whole progression and this whole journey to reach that point. And when I got it, I got it. And so when I learned about law of assumption and when I found Neville Goddard, that was the aha moment for me, because before that, I knew about manifestation, but it wasn't fully clicking that I was the one and only source, and there was nothing but me to change. And so that awareness allowed me to look back on my whole life and go, okay, no wonder, no wonder, no wonder, no wonder. And that was very freeing for me. And it was a catalyst for major change as well.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, finding Neville Goddard was such a transformative part for me too, because right, I had this big healing experience and then, was learning about law of attraction. And that was kind of, I always felt that that was like framed in a different way. And then law of assumption being like, I am the point. Because when I healed my body, I tuned into my body is healed. My body's always been perfect. And
Yes.
so I'm wondering, what were the main thoughts that you had been having prior to shifting your self concept, shifting the you that you are embodying today? So, for example, the hot 100 in my mind used to be some things like, I'm in so much pain. I hate my life. Everything sucks. And when I couldn't move and all I could hear were those thoughts, I realized, oh my gosh, that's what I'm firing through my body all the time. I need to change it. So I locked in, and for 3 days, I just affirmed my body has always been perfect and everything's amazing and I love my life. And then in 3 days, I was up washing dishes at the sink. And that's the words that came out of my mouth. And I was like, yes.
That is phenomenal, by the way. That is miraculous, but I'm not surprised. And that's amazing. For me, I think in the beginning, when I first found these concepts, especially law of assumption, for me, it was framed more through a relationship focus. So, because those were the patterns I was seeing play out before my eyes at that time when I found all of this. And so, for me, it was like, why is this happening to me again? Why do all men in relationships turn out this way? Why am I in the exact same dynamic and situation that I was in before, but now even worse? So, I used to tell this story about myself through the context of relationships because this was my self concept and how I perceived myself and the story that I was telling about myself because these are the relationships that I saw as a child, these dynamics. And so that's what I took upon as my truth, right? And so, like, they don't help me, they don't do anything for me. I mean, I used to say things like, and I would never now, my husband treats me like chopped liver. He doesn't help me, he doesn't pay attention to me. I have to do everything. And I felt like this martyr and like everything fell on me. And so these stories, right, that I was telling about myself, and so, of course, he had to show up that way. Well, I didn't know it was me. So I left that marriage, right, thinking it's him. No, well, then I just repeated the patterns all over again, but it was even louder. It was even more, right? And so that was the point where I realized, wow, something's got to change within me and how I'm seeing myself and the identity that I'm embodying, but the way that I was able to change that. And I will never forget standing in my kitchen one day. And I've told this story a million times online, so maybe some people have heard it, but it's a really powerful example of um, just the decision alone is everything. Because I remember after starting this identity work and self concept journey that I was on, I was starting to feel like this new character, right? Who valued herself, who didn't overgive, who let people help her, who allowed herself to receive. So, not being so much in masculine energy and shifting back into safety and into feminine energy for the first time. And so I remember standing in my kitchen one day and those old victim stories creeped back up in my mind out of nowhere, saying things to me like, don't you want to be mad at him? And don't you want to point the finger? And don't you want to, be angry about what this person has done to you and what that person has done to you? And I remember in that moment, I'll never forget going, stop out loud and yelling and going, no, that is not who I am anymore. And as soon as I did that and made that decision, the voice was like, okay, cool. And it left me, right? And then it was like I just shifted instantly in that moment to this new identity. And I have not repeated those patterns since. And now my relationship dynamic in my marriage is wonderful. And if I'm being honest, he does way more than I do, right? And so like it's a whole different ball game when you can look back at your life and your experience and see where you have been victimizing yourself and you didn't even realize it, but how you can step out of that because no one is out there doing anything to you. You are the source of all of these stories that you're telling, and reality just must show you who you say you are, right?
Absolutely. I love that share. Thank you so much for, yeah, that recognition when you realize, oh, I'm creating this. I've been telling this story about this person, so they must show up this way. And
Yes,
really recognizing the call is coming from inside the house. There's nothing to change but self. Say it all the time. And
absolutely.
so the next question that's coming up is, what do you feel is the role of intuition in manifestation?
That is such a good question. And nowadays, because I've worked through a lot of releasing limitations, rules, conditions in regards to even manifestation, right? Like processes and routines and all of these things are wonderful, don't get me wrong, but it's also just an option. We are limitless, we are unconditioned. And so now, knowing that and coming back to basics and back to the I am, and realizing, I am the law and I make the rules as we all do in our lives. It doesn't have to look a certain way, and my way is the right way. And so, speaking about intuition, there might be a day where I feel called to do affirmations just because it feels good and I want to. And it's allowing me to feel into this version of me or version of reality that I am now choosing for myself. That source has put upon me because I already am it and I already have it. And source wants to have that experience through me. So I am allowing my intuition to guide me on maybe this is how I'm allowing that to come through me today. But maybe tomorrow it's something else or it's something different or it's nothing at all, right? Maybe it's just making a decision. And so in the past, I used to be a lot more rigid with thinking I have to do this or I have to do that in order to get what I want. But really, nothing could be further from the truth. And so now, if there's anything to do, it's to remember who you are. I am the awareness behind all of this. It's not the technique that's doing it, it's me. I am the power. And so, really making sure that I check in with myself every day, sitting in stillness and reminding and remembering that truth has allowed me to tap even deeper into my intuition where I'm not placing all these rules and conditions on myself anymore and I'm just going with the creative flow, what feels good, um, and making it more fun and more like a game instead of, oh, I've gone from doing and doing in a different way to now more and more doing in a metaphysical way, if that makes sense. So it's like the same thing. So anyway, getting quiet and still has really allowed me to become more intuitive and to tap more into that so that I'm not making it feel like work, I guess, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I loved what you said about you're just doing in a metaphysical way, right? People taking hustle mentality and hustle culture and applying it to manifestation. It's not what we're here to do. Well, it's not what I'm here to do, right? That's not how I want to enjoy my life. So, really recognizing if I'm entering into that, all right, I gotta like get this to manifest this, making
Yeah.
my manifestations conditional on my behavior is
Yes.
something that I'm very much eliminating or have eliminated. And so, what I'm wondering also is, all right, you mentioned loving to tune into what you want to tune into simply for the fun of it. You mentioned some of what your older thought patterns had been at the time. I'm wondering, do you have any affirmations or just thoughts that you've been really enjoying lately?
You know what? I've been playing around with a little practice that a lot of people are probably familiar with. I kind of equate it to the Marilyn Monroe effect because and speaking of affirmations, though, I look at affirmations much differently now than I used to. I used to think of affirmations as, once again, because we're so conditioned to think this way, I thought of affirmations as something to do in order to convince myself into a different identity or in order to get something right. So I'm rewiring and I'm changing my brain. Right, all that is fine. Yes, absolutely, you can do it that way. But now that I have a deeper awareness of who I actually am and I've come back to the I am, I look at things that I tell myself more as declarations than affirmations. And so, if something is coming up for me, I will gauge, does this feel good or does it not feel good? Because I know if it doesn't feel good, it's lying to me, right? It's something that I've bought into that's doesn't have to be true for me because my truth is whatever I say it is. I am who I say I am. It is the one and only truth. And so for me, it's been more effective to look at it that way and then to simply make a decision in that moment, no matter what it looks like, no matter how I'm feeling right now, because I am even bigger than all of that, more than all of that. Nothing trumps my I am, nothing trumps my declaration. And so it's not even an affirmation to me. It's more of an awareness and an acceptance that I am God. And so now I can just state whatever in this moment. But the practice that I've been loving so much recently, because we're so taught to have such a scattered focus, right? And so it's a fun game of focus. Anytime I walk into a room full of people, or maybe it's like a setting that I'm in, a restaurant or whatever, I love to sit with myself and bring all of my focus and energy and attention back to me and my body and the experience that I'm having, which some people would probably call the Marilyn Monroe effect, right? Where you are shifting your focus from being external and scattered to lasered in on you. And it's so easy and it's so fun because you can see in real time how it works, that you are the only thinker, that your mind is the only one, that your energy is the only one. And so it's really interesting to sit in a crowded room and realize I'm focusing on what this is person is doing, what that person's doing, what that one is saying, and now I have scattered focus, right? Well, when you can train your focus to come back to you and the experience that you're having, how does it feel to be in my body right now? I'm really enjoying being here with me. I am loving my own energy in this moment. I am fabulous. I'm beautiful, right? It's turning the focus from out there onto you. And it's wild to watch everyone in the room shift to you. Does that make any sense? So I've been playing around with that a lot lately, and it's been so much fun. And that's something that I work on with my clients as well. But when it comes to affirmations, I don't look at them that way anymore. I just think of them as I'm stating a truth and I'm declaring who I am in this moment.
I love that. I love that absolutely. Um, a couple of things came up while you were speaking with that. So in the embodiment of the energy, like focusing on my body being in my body. That's something that I do when I perform the poetry or music that I perform is I know that I am this radiant energy and all eyes are on me. All
Yes.
the focus in the room turns to me and people are like, oh my God, you're so amazing. And I'm like, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
It
Um,
makes you so magnetic because you've taken the focus to you as the only observer. So if you're the only observer and you're not observing you, nothing's observing you, right?
oh, that's such a wonderful way of phrasing that. I love that. Yes. And then also the word affirmation, it's like from affirmative. So it's like affirmative meaning a yes. So it's like it's a yes, or the opposite would be negatory, right? And so that would
Yeah.
be no, but it's also to negate. So it's like what we're saying yes to or what we're negating. is like a good way that I like to think of it, as far as just because I know some people hear affirmations and they somehow think it's like separate or a technique instead of just recognizing it's just a thought. It's just a form that you get to either put focus on and agree with. Declaration, I love that word, or confirmation as well, of being like, yes, this is who I am. But that embodiment beyond words, simply using the energy and feeling it, is so powerful. And I'm so glad that you brought that up and put the focus there, because that is what is called for, really. It's feeling good now, feeling good in your body, feeling phenomenal as you, as the creator, as the one that receives all the beautiful, juicy attention and love.
Yes, exactly. And it's fun to play around with because you can turn it on and off and you can use it to your advantage. And even in the opposite way, if it serves you, right? Because you are the only observer. And so if you don't wish to be perceived at a certain moment, you don't have to be, right? And so you can scatter your focus and become invisible if you want, right? Because you are the only observer. But just as easily turn it back on to I am the only one here, which you are, right? And because I'm the only one here, I am observing my own experience, which makes me magnetic to the outside world. But as we know, there is no outside world, right? Everything is you. Reality is you.
I love that. I love that. And what a powerful way to wrap up this powerful conversation. So, I'm wondering, is there anything else that you're intuitively inspired to share?
So, if I could leave everyone with something, it would be try to focus more or remember stillness. This is something I've been thinking so much about recently and touching on so much with my clients, that we are taught and programmed and conditioned to be in constant movement. And there's nothing wrong with movement, but in stillness. And that's the whole be still and know that I'm God, right? Where you can sit with yourself and find such a deep trust of yourself and your power, where you are no longer looking for external proof or validation. And that is ultimate power. But a lot of times we don't even know how to be still. And so if you can even just start with your body, start a practice, right? Even if it's just 2 minutes a day, and expand upon that and build upon that, where you're allowing yourself to be still, even if it's just your body at first, because it will open you up to more and more and more of what your higher self is trying to tell you. It will take the fear and urgency out. It will take the external validation or proof seeking out, because you will find truth. You will come back to the remembering of who you are just in stillness alone. It doesn't have to be so complicated. The truth is not complicated. It's not all of these things that you need to do. It's the awareness of who you actually are, which is everything, all things, source, the creator. And so that practice alone every single day, just sitting in stillness with myself and remembering I accept that I am God. And if I am God, then I am everything. Therefore, I am void of nothing. I have everything. I am everything right here, right now. And in that stillness, you will remember and you will find everything that you're looking for.
Ah, phenomenal, amazing, beautiful, brilliant, stupendous,
I
miraculous.
love you.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, all the mics are just dropping. I love
Thank
that
you.
so much. Thank you so much. Where can everyone find you? Because I know everyone's going to want to continue to hear you drop such spectacular wisdom.
Thank you so much. It has been my honor. I could talk about this for ages, and I am very long-winded. You can find me everywhere, all platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, even Pinterest. I'm everywhere, and I am Courtney Stephenson everywhere, all platforms.
And you can follow me, of course, at Rome Wild on TikTok, at Rome Wild Arts on Instagram, at Joy Channel Podcast on Instagram, and check out my website, rosemariefrancis.com. Will I have everything be one uniform name at some point? Maybe. But until then, I trust you to find things. All the links are below.